Yo. Yo. Let's get this out here. We're going to review this YSL trial and get to know me a little bit as I go on this YouTube journey. So this trial is going to start here in a little bit. We're going to read some chat. Hopefully I get some viewers and we'll read some chats. You get to know me a little bit. But we're coming to the end of this YSL trial. Matter of fact, let's turn it on.
Would be applicable, but I think it would need to be altered somewhat because it's Mr. Williams that.
Well, I know, but that's better for Mr. Kendrick. If you find Mr. Kendrick owned the residence.
What better way?
We all know that. Right? So then that part is not, I can read it or I can just not read that because it's not applicable.
Yeah, okay, now I see what you're saying.
We could just say.
Yeah, I've read it. So it probably isn't.
I just wasn't sure if instead of saying that the defendant owned an individual.
Oh,
if you find
Viverito.
An individual owned or leased.
Or as my man.
Residence.
Yeah.
Where the.
Drugs,
all of that
guns.
stuff was found, then you may conclude that that individual
from Norway
possessed
would say
everything found there.
Lieutenant
However, if you
Burrito.
find that others had access to the residence, then that individual, then the owner's
Thugger.
ownership of the residence is not by itself
Thugger.
enough to prove possession. Frankly, the whole thing's just not even applicable here.
Okay. You may.
Okay,
I don't object
so
to
we
it being
won't get
removed.
that one at all. All right, affirmative defenses.
Man, there goes my eyes.
The note is, defense believes this must remain. So I
Oh,
need
Lord.
some
Spilling water all
evidence
over
to-
myself.
Mr. Stillwell keeps trying to trick.
Thugger.
So,
So he has no proof of that.
Your Honor, I am taking a stance that
We're going to do
again,
that.
if there's a directed verdict or if there's some issue with the gun charge, then that solves this problem. This relates solely to the gun charge.
Mm.
We have heard testimony from the gang investigators as well as Investigator Thorpe. Woody's allowed to have a gun. Woody's allowed to have a gun to protect himself.
Oh.
People are shooting at Woody. It's okay if he has a gun.
Uh-oh.
And my stance is that we've heard testimony that people are repeatedly trying to murder Mr. Stillwell.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Stillwell is charged with possession of the FN 5.7 and he's charged with that.
Bro,
and
whoever
our stance,
hears this
while
closed
it doesn't-
caption is crazy.
It falls under F.
Under
for
F.
justification,
Read some of this.
which
Watch
is in
it.
all other instances based on similar reason and justice as those enumerated
And
in this
can you
charge.
give me a second to find where that's his count what?
It's going to be fun because this Viverito, if they still got to go back and talk with her, oh, man.
No, he's not even 52 and 64. Well, 52, 54, that one doesn't chart, that just is the murder. 64.
It really applies, if he's convicted of 52, or whichever the first gun charge is that's associated with the murder, then that clearly wouldn't be, fall under instances of reason and justice. But for 64, when it's the standalone gun, we have laws in place under the jury charge 30110 for justification. And my argument is that the jury charge F is applicable under 30110. Unfortunately, what's complicated is to understand F, you need to,
Hang on just a second. So count 52 charges on March
Excuse me.
14th, he possessed a gun, and that was the drinks murder, right?
yes,
Count 64 charges he possessed a gun on the 17th of March,
yes. And that was on Meadowlark Drive. The
when
gun
he
that
was arrested?
right. The gun that the state is saying was thrown out the car,
Oh, which you've,
registered to Miss Alexander.
okay.
And my argument is if the jury finds that Mr. Stillwell was in fact carrying that gun around
Mm-hmm.
and either he or Mr. Nichols discarded it out the window, 30110 F would apply based, and the reason it would apply to him specifically is because we have heard testimony about repeated attempts on his life. Now, the dilemma, if Your Honor were to agree with me about F, the issue is that it's F is a reference to A through E.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have to give them all A through E, but just
Well,
Is the jury there today?
make sure that they understood that I was arguing F.
well, it would only be A. It wouldn't be any of the other ones.
Yeah, you know what, you're right, Your Honor, I'm sorry, you're right. It would just be,
Okay, but here's the thing with the law is that if he had been possessing a gun despite being a convicted felon and somebody came up to his window and held up a gun to his temple and said, you know, dance or I'll shoot you, and he shot them instead, then he might be justified not only in shooting them, but in possessing the gun that would otherwise be illegal for him to possess. He couldn't be charged with that. Well, he could be charged. He couldn't be convicted of that. But here, he didn't do anything that was justified conduct. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a specific reference to 16:3, 21, 23, 24, 25, and 26, which is using a firearm in defense of self, home, others.
my understanding of I think it's a Johnson case. It's the one that the Hogues argued, and was the first one that dealt with the situation that you laid out with possessing a gun and then using it in self-defense.
Mhm.
My understanding of that case is that you would have a justification argument for the act, the murder, the shooting, whatever it is. You could still, unless you
Let's
unless
go.
you grab the gun in a sudden emergency,
Right.
you could still be charged with the gun. The difference that here, from my perspective, is the person in your scenario is just someone who's
Shoot, I done
carrying a
messed up.
gun because they want to carry a gun and they're not supposed to carry a gun. Then something unexpected happens and they use the gun.
Okay,
My
well, he
scenario-
knows somebody's after him.
Right.
Do
that's
you
the
have any
difference.
case law to support
There
your
is no
argument?
case law I've been able to find.
Making law, huh?
Yes, making law. Someone has to make it.
That's true.
Oh, Max.
But F exists for a reason.
I don't think there's any law that says that, I mean, especially if Johnson is a case that says if you're a convicted felon, unless you grab a gun in an emergency situation, you're not excused. Your toting it around on your body doesn't excuse you.
For the gun possession. And that is, in
Oh.
fact, what Johnson says, to
Okay,
my understanding.
well, I mean, unfortunately, unfortunately, there is not in the law any exception that says even a convicted felon who knows they have legitimate threats to their life can go to some government office and say, I've got legitimate threats. Let me carry this gun. That's
Well-
just not what the law is.
Of course, I'm going with the court, and I respect the court. I would argue that that's what F is. That's why F is there. Because it says, in all instances based on similar reason and justice. And to me, this is similar to 16, 3, 21, 23, 24 self-defense.
I mean, I like your argument. It's a
Thank
good legal argument. It's clever. State want to be heard?
That's just frankly not the law. I mean, the law allows us to charge him with possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony or by a convicted felon 3 different times, knowing that he had it before, knowing that he had it after he left with the gun, but he could be found immune from possessing the gun during the alleged whatever act he was unjustified in protecting himself with. But you can't just carry a gun around as a convicted felon and not be held accountable for it unless you are found to be justified in using the gun at the time in which you fired it.
All right, I am not going to give that charge. If you want to perfect the record any further, you can go ahead and do that. But I think it's pretty clear what your argument is.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So we will not be given 3.01.10.
In that case, and just for the record, I'm not acquiescing. I'm maintaining my argument, but just in all candid to the court, then we probably don't need
See,
3.
candid, it said Kansas.
Okay. Or
Oh,
3.10.10.
Correct.
All right.
I'm going to talk. Trust me. We're
And
just
we
getting this
really
thing
don't
going.
need
It's early.
3.10.11 because it doesn't even exist anymore.
I don't think we need.
I
any
got
of
some.
these,
I can fast forward this if I
Alright.
wanted to.
I don't either because they all are like basically
Huh.
if they're so no 1, 2 and no 1, 3. All right, then venue.
Have they even started yet, bro? They don't even look like they started yet.
Should be indicted and tried in the county in which the crime was committed. I'm going to strike
Oh my
the except as
gosh.
otherwise provided. We don't have that, do we? And then venue for RICO. Y'all are both in agreement that
I got a dog named Scrappy. I actually got 2 dogs, Scrappy
the
and
one that's
Sadie.
listed is fine.
Scrappy, he's out there
Okay.
now, and he's chasing
Venue
squirrels.
for conspiracy to
One day I'll
commit a
capture
crime.
that on video on how he gets after these squirrels. We got him when he was about 4 months.
Other than
So
RICO,
our older dog, Sadie, who
nobody's
we brought from
charged with
Ohio,
conspiracy to commit a
and then we
crime as, like,
got
a separate offense, are they?
Scrappy here.
So
Sadie essentially raised him, and she was out there chasing squirrels. So
venue for
it's
conspiracy to commit
it's
a
the
crime.
craziest thing when you
It doesn't
see
seem to.
this dog chasing a squirrel.
Okay. All right, I need verdict forms or suggested verdict forms for 1.60.12, multiple defendants all, and it says
They making
adjust.
jokes. Look at Weinstein. He laughing at the state because he knows they're not prepared.
What is anyone proposing on that?
I don't want that at all.
What?
I believe that is.
Just closed caption captures it, then watch what it does.
I mean, I'm going to tell them determine guilt or innocence of each defendant separately.
I don't believe that this is necessary.
Okay. 1.60.12. Do we need that? This- It's, the defense is no longer.
Going back to
requesting
Scrappy
the
and these
bail.
squirrels. Scrappy has caught
Is the state?
Oh,
still
Lord.
requesting that?
2 squirrels. We live in Florida, so outside in the wooded area behind us, we live by some lakes. Him and Sadie, I think they've killed about 3 rats. Outside.
Given the charge below.
Probably one of the squirrels he got, and he pulled it on. I
I
guess I can't say those words. He put it unalive squirrels. He pulled it on, put it on the back porch so he could show me. The other day, I think he got one because the guy he was out there, then the squirrel was on the screen. He's just going crazy. I go out there, try to get him in the house so the squirrel can run. And right on the side of his body, you could see there was blood on the screen. I was like, man, I think he got him.
Assessing the evidence.
He's so sneaky with it. He'll get low.
It appears the state requested it. The defense is fine with it.
All right, what are we doing here?
I assume the state still wants it, given that you requested it. Okay. Court has no interest.
I don't think court started yet.
Responsibility-
This is crazy.
Sentencing, responsibility for, state questions why I don't want to give that. Because if I'm telling the jury, don't concern yourselves with punishment, then why am I telling the jury anything about punishment? It's like, don't think about an elephant.
I think because human nature, people will think we don't instruct them that they're not charged with what happens after the guilt innocence stage. And I think that's why this jury charge is important, because they may, in my experience, sometimes think about sentencing and think about what happens after this point, and am I responsible for that? So I believe letting
So if
them
they
know-
ask us that, then we'll say, don't concern yourselves with that.
Exactly.
I think innately, especially with a count like murder, when people know what the penalty is, that's typically what the request.
People think they know what the penalty is.
Right, but I guess because the people think they may know what the sentencing range is or what the penalty is, which is a life sentence. A lot of times that can come in.
Oh, here she comes.
View the evidence and things of that nature.
Here she comes.
You so silly.
Uh-oh. There she is on her moo-moo.
You stupid.
Moo-moo.
What are you
Okay, well,
doing?
don't
I am
know.
live streaming this Young Thug
If you're
trial.
not supposed to think about it, then I'm not.
And I'm
ready
going to
to
talk
comment.
about who I am as I'm live streaming.
Oh, that's what be part of your thing too.
Just talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to start from here.
I'm gonna do true crime.
True crime, we're gonna
Uh-huh. I am.
You know what that is? You know what we're gonna do then? And that's what we'll do.
Do y'all have that ready?
You get the craziest true crime. And after we get back,
We'll need to get
we'll
that.
review it.
I'm gonna do
Oh, you're not gonna do it. Okay.
Like showing it to me.
Okay.
like fear thy neighbor.
And show it to me.
Like
All right, so jumping
we gonna
back
take
up
shows
to
like
where
that
our knowledge
and talk
was.
about it. Cause this is like people, cause nobody does that. Cause that's what I look at.
I don't know where-
People talk about.
Well, we got an
serial killers.
idea for this afternoon. We're gonna do
Nobody.
Fear
is
Thy
out there-
Neighbor.
Nobody is out there taking shows like that and breaking
Fear
it
Thy-
down
You
and
hear it.
talking about it like from a
Okay. thank you.
black standpoint. Like, look at these people.
All right, so.
Now
it
these people
We're
seems
gonna
are way out
review
here. You know
Fear
what
Thy
I'm saying?
Neighbors. We're gonna
knowledge
review
that
a
would be
Fear Thy Neighbor
necessary for the
later on
trial
today. It's gonna be
to
hilarious.
Nobody is taking shows like that and breaking it. Like, you don't with these people. This is what he ended up doing
Keep
next.
coughing.
This nigga done took this shit and now these people are dead.
That's the plan for this afternoon, late afternoon.
We can take these shows and
I got more of a plan too.
and then bring it and how these people could have talked this out
Instead of killing one another.
instead of killing one another. Now somebody is permanently gone.
See, if you got all I gotta do is plug in your headphones and you'll be able to hear it. Then we can both work off one mic.
Now somebody is permanently gone
That's crazy.
because you mad because they drive.
This is gonna be fun, y'all later. And this woman's crazy about these Fear Thy Neighbor crap.
And ain't nobody really is nothing.
Oh, I think we're about to start the trial shortly.
What preference would would still be to keep that knowledge charge in, especially, I
So
understand.
get ready.
I'm asking which.
We'll set up a
offenses
stream.
I say it applies to.
The murder, the drugs, and the guns.
We're gonna set up a stream of a Fear Thy Neighbor
Did I leave
review.
anything out? No, I left out the RICO.
Hey Tiffany,
And the
when you get back, I want you to see my
Gang
it
is,
wouldn't even make sense.
my screen.
no, so
Yeah, crazy dog.
Well, we can talk about a couple of things, though. That ain't got to be the only thing.
No, you just got to go out there and try things. Look at my screen. Who I am. Look at the picture I got back there.
I see it.
Send me a picture of me and you. The ones you like. One or two you like. This one you get a chance. Thugger.
Personally
Thugger.
participate or help in the commission of the alleged offense. I don't think we need conspirator
We need
there
some
because conspirator is covered in the
ones.
RICO.
yeah, we don't need that.
Okay.
I don't really
As
think it
long as
matters. I
nothing
think it's the
is
ones that are
beyond a
crazy.
reasonable doubt that the defendant
Oh, you
had
talking
knowledge
crazy
of the
ones?
Oh,
crime
yeah.
of- list them again, and that the defendant knowingly helped or participated, then you would be authorized to convict the defendant of that count. I'm going to add that.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right,
Thugger.
anything else we said we were coming back to? Obviously RICO, but anything else?
I sent a proposed charge to Ms. Percival.
We're almost there.
Count 51, Mr. Stillwell is charged with 1654 subsection B. And I sent a proposed charge as relates to that count. It's not covered by the pattern.
That being gang,
So the pattern covers 16154A. It doesn't cover B.
isn't that in our gang? It's, if you look at what's there,
I'm sorry.
I did, where is it? Yeah, there's, to prove a violation of subsection A of the Gang Act as alleged in counts 50 and 57, the state must show blah. To prove a violation of subsection B of the Gang Act as alleged in count 51, the state must show it's all of those plus, in order to, there's an additional element, number 4, in order to maintain or increase his status or position in the gang.
I'm sorry, Judge.
This covers that, right?
I completely.
Okay, it's okay. All right, anything else?
Could I have 5 minutes before you bring the jury out, Your Honor?
Yes, I
Thank
mean,
you.
we've got, oh, right. We told them 10. Do we know whether they're all here? They're not all here anyway. So yes, you can have until they get here.
Thank you.
See what we got. Thugger. Uh-oh.
What's your email?
Pastor Jeff 46 Gmail. I just
46
at Gmail.
Gmail.
Yeah. We just both need to be comfortable and freaking stress free. We go. I want to be able to maintain what we're doing in the evening. Yeah. 46. I want to maintain what we do in the afternoons, early evenings.
Don't mean I need to. Do what you were supposed to do in that moment
And leave alone.
and walk away.
Yeah.
And just because, and she said, and this is what my therapist taught me. Christianity did that to people. Because I told her one of the first things I learned is Jesus, others, and yourself. And to put yourself last. And that's why I'm in the situation I'm in. That's why I get my medication after everybody else gets what they need. That's why I go without my medication. That's why I always, like, my problem now is that I don't have my hydrochloroquine. I haven't even been to see my rheumatologist.
Why don't you have it?
Because I made the appointment because I don't like my rheumatologist.
So I can help with that right now if taking
But
this time.
I gotta go get the blood work.
Yeah, but I can help with the other parts of it though.
I know. But see, my therapist, she was like, and see, Christianity did that to a lot of people because they figure I gotta put everybody else first. And she said, and then they forget themselves. And she said, and they think they're doing so good because they're putting themselves last. Meanwhile, they're killing themselves and then they're not taking care of themselves, but I'm taking care of everybody else. Meanwhile, your blood pressure high as heck, meaning your kidneys are taking a beating, but your kids are healthy. And who's going to be there to take care of your kids? But you feel good about yourself because your kids are healthy, but you feel like crap. But everybody got what they need except you.
That's what I was telling you before.
I know. And she said, but we don't think about that in the midst of it. And so, but we overextend ourselves because we have the skill, the ability, and the knowledge. And so we overextend ourselves when we don't take care of ourselves. Yeah. And in that moment, when you're in that customer's home and you see that need, you help them because it helps that person in that moment. Mm-hmm. But it's not helping you. Do what you came there to do and walk away and let that person who has the resources to call somebody else. And that's what you have to learn to do. And that's what helps you manage your stress. By letting that grown adult who's been living on their own for many years, that is perfectly capable of handling themselves, mm-hmm. do what they need to do.
Yeah. I'm gonna do it.
And that's what she told me. She said, you have to do that. She said, we have to learn how to do that. She said, every fire ain't meant for you to put out. She said, if you see somebody out in public and they drop something, it ain't for you to just rush over and pick it up. She said, it's 1,000,001 other people that can pick it up. You don't have to do it. She said, now, you can smile at everybody you see because that don't require nothing. She said, yes, you can. She said, smile at everybody. She said, because that does something for you. She said, yes, be happy. Yes, that does something for us. But you don't have to overextend yourself.
Y'all heard that. And that's the type of stuff we're going to bring to the table. You heard? Finally. Here. Miss Burrito still there. All right. Here we go. Let's go. Miss Burrito. I wonder what position Yak played. I bet he was a corner. He probably was a corner. Let's go. Where my glasses at? Just like all old times. Just put glasses somewhere. Don't know where I put them. Where I put my glasses at?
Thank you. Everybody can be seated. Go ahead, Mr. Short.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Good morning,
Good morning.
Investigator Viverito.
Oh
morning.
Lord, he gonna turn up on this lady.
Are both those mics being used?
This one is,
It's fixed.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Here we go.
So Investigator Viverito.
Let's go.
Where we left off yesterday, we were talking about a post that was captured by you that showed Quamarvius Nichols with some writing on the picture, correct?
correct.
Okay, we are going to get back to that later.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to switch to another topic right now. But it is about the posts from March 2022 that you collected.
Okay.
Okay.
I've been watching
Reality, in
this.
March 2022, you observed and collected some posts
Beginning of this year for sure.
that you
What kind of
were
shoes
relevant.
Shannon got on?
Sure.
and that you felt were
He got some Crocs on.
derogatory or mocking
Hey, gotta do what you gotta do.
both the Christian McMiller and Darius Ford situation.
I'd have to see which posts were.
Well, I'm going to.
So there's a lot of nonsense that I've seen that
derogatory and
I
mocking
give some
both
insight on as this
Christian McMiller
goes.
and Darius Ford.
Correct.
And then you also pulled posts that you thought were derogatory or referencing or mocking Shamel Drinks' death. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay. And let's be clear. As an investigator, you are not saying just because someone posts something derogatory or mocking or referencing the death of another individual, that means that they committed that crime. You are not saying that, are you?
That is correct.
Okay. And I just want to talk to you about a couple of these posts. I'm going to bring them up to you, okay? These are all this is a bundle of the posts that you collected that are in evidence, correct?
Sure.
All right, Madam
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Correct. You're gonna see
For
this lady is
instance,
mad. She don't like Max.
You
Max don't
observed
like her either.
some posts that were made following the Christian McMiller Darius
watch all this
Ford
speculation.
homicide
Correct.
Watch.
on March 10th going into March 11th. And these posts were in the days following.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Ms. Knight, could you
Correct.
do me a favor and publish what's been
Oh,
admitted?
my glasses is on top of my head. Oh
457
Lord, I was looking for them. Looking for my glasses. They're on top of my head.
Okay. Investigator Viverito, this is a post posted by one ABG.
Nick, I can't remember his name, but he's over there from
You know
Norway.
this person from the picture and also from his name on Instagram.
Trial lawyer from Norway that
Mr.
covers his
Johnson.
trial.
Correct.
Okay. And in this post, when was
Mrs.
this post
Burrito.
collected by you?
That was collected. Would have been around 8:20 on March 11th.
March 11th. Okay. So this is the morning after Christian McMiller and Darius Ford were gunned down.
The evening, 8:20 p.m.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the evening after,
Correct.
about 20 hours after, 21 hours, or 19 hours after.
Somewhere around there.
Okay. And this post includes a says
I'll tell you
slime
right
and
now,
chalk.
man, there is nowhere
Correct.
in the
Okay.
world
And you viewed this
I would step
as
foot in
a
Atlanta
clear reference
ever.
to Darius Ford and Christian McMiller being murdered in reference to a chalk outline of a body on the street.
Correct. Coupled with my knowledge and interactions with Mr. Johnson in the past, yes.
Right. I think you testified that Mr.
Watch, she's gonna
Johnson
walk
has
herself
been
into stuff and then
he's
get
associated
mad.
with
But you're gonna find, watch.
He's documented as a member, and he's also a fixture at 12 Atlanta Daily.
Okay. So you saw this post, posted the next day, referencing the death, mocking slime and chalk. Mr. Johnson has not been charged for the murders of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, correct?
Correct.
And the reason he hasn't been charged is because posting something like this, while it is insensitive, while it may be wrong, it doesn't mean that he killed Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, does it?
Correct. There's other things we would look at, like if he was in the vicinity of the murder on camera, coupled with a post that's not great, that would be something we take into consideration, but that didn't happen.
And Investigator Viverito, I knew you were going to be dying to say that, and we are going to talk about all the surveillance videos and all of the situation involving Mr. Drinks when I get to it, okay? But I'm asking you specifically about posts. Posts that is not a confession to killing Darius Ford or Christian McMiller, is it?
Absolutely not. But as an investigator, you need to look at things as a whole to piece things together.
She gonna walk herself into some more crap.
And
Watch.
that's why you collected this.
Correct.
Okay.
Miss Burrito.
Miss Knight, I'm going to ask you to publish 462 VV.
She's a hostile witness, in my opinion. She don't want her face shown, but she's all over TV. She's all over the internet. Everybody knows who she is. You're not someone that we don't know who you are. I can pull you up right now and watch you make deals with people. YSL Woody being one.
Okay. 462 VV is 2 posts that showed up on this page labeled Joey_Hurst24, correct?
Correct.
Man, that's dead wrong for saying that, though. Now you
On the left
fatherless.
is
Oh,
Christian
man.
McMiller,
Correct.
and on the
See, I
right
can't
is
get with
Darius
that.
Correct.
Ford. And they're
Ugh.
fairly self-explanatory. They're mocking the death of Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford, correct?
Correct.
Mm.
All right, and this was posted when?
I'd have to see the file name.
Okay, so you're not, and that's fine. Was it posted after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford?
Yes.
Now, I understand your belief is that this is a trolling page or a fake page. Is that correct?
It's a page. Yes, it's a page that we had not seen surface really or be vocal until this point.
Now, and certainly when you see a page like this, there are certain investigative things that you could do
Mowers next door. I might have to go on
to
mute
try
for
to
a little
determine
bit.
who is behind this page, correct?
Correct.
I ain't going
Media
nowhere, though. We're going to talk.
surveillance could check IP addresses to see who set up the page, etc.
You could.
Okay. You or anyone else that you know of did no such thing to try to determine who Joey Hurst was, the
No.
government name. Okay. And the reason you didn't, and I'm not trying to beat you up, the reason you didn't go through those steps, if you thought this was a confession, and you thought this meant that Joey Hurst killed Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford, you certainly would have gone through those steps to uncover who it is behind this post, if you thought that was the killer.
If I thought that was, but the investigation led us to other suspects.
Okay.
There she
Bottom
go.
line is,
Watch.
you did not view these posts as signifying that whoever was behind this account was the killer of Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford. You didn't view it that way.
Correct. The individuals that were making posts who we deemed as suspects, they were further investigated, whether it be cell phone extractions or social media.
Okay.
They just pick and choose who they want to investigate.
456.
It's sad, bro.
Please, Ms. Knight. Thank you. Okay, and this post was collected on March 11th, 2022 at 11:30 p.m., correct?
Correct?
Okay, so again, about a day after Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford were killed.
Correct.
Okay, and you testified on direct about what you thought new op pack just came in. It's kind of like or smoking on our ops.
Correct.
Okay. Certainly not kind.
I need to start
not
paying
nice,
attention back
not
to the caption
sympathetic,
again. Watch it.
And it's showing approval for what happened, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And this page is another one that you didn't know the government name of the person behind it.
Correct.
Okay, and you didn't go through any investigative steps, or anyone else that you know of go through any investigative steps to determine the person behind it.
Correct.
Okay, and the reason again is because this post, you didn't take it as a confession. You didn't take this post as saying, I'm the person who did it.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Finally,
Wow.
we're going to talk about Kelvin Watts.
Okay.
Okay, Kelvin Watts has not been arrested for the Christian McMiller or Darius Ford murder, has he?
He has not.
Okay. And this has all happened 2 years ago at
Correct.
this point. Okay. Really 2.5 years ago, more than 2.5 years ago. Mr. Watts made several posts regarding the death of Darius Ford and Christian McMiller.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Knight, could you please publish 473 VV for me? Okay. In 473 VV, that's posted by Shell Kel Nutlife, correct?
Correct.
And you know that that'd be Kelvin Watts.
Correct.
And this was posted shortly after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford.
Correct.
Okay, and this actually depicts Mr. Donovan Thomas.
Correct.
And underneath Mr. Thomas's left eye are 2 shells.
Correct.
Okay, and as an investigator, you're aware of like prison tattoos or eye teardrops under an eye, correct?
Yes, that's what I spoke about on direct.
Okay, right. And you took this as kind of a play on the teardrops under the eyes of 2 shells indicating 2 bodies, Darius Ford and Christian McMiller.
Correct. The first time we started seeing the 2 shells under the eye was after the death of Christian Ford and Darius McMiller, I think, in days following.
Okay, Ms. Knight, could you please publish 461 VV? And here's another picture of Shell Kel or Kelvin Watts that posted shortly after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And
These mowers coming. I'm
a
gonna
little close, but there's
mute
a
up
big shell
till they get up out of here.
of his hair, but then there's 2 little
But I can
shells
guarantee you there's gonna be
on
some
the
fireworks.
front.
Just keep on
And
watching.
Again, that's a post that you interpreted to be a reference to the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Knight, if you could publish 454 VV, please. Okay. In this post, again, shortly after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, correct?
This was in the hours after they were killed, yes.
And this is on Kelvin Watts' page.
Yes.
And again, we see the 2 shells.
Correct.
Okay, and that had significance to you because there was 2 dead bodies.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And 460 VV, please, Ms. Knight. Okay, again, here, this was posted shortly after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford.
Correct.
And we have 2 shells, right?
Correct.
And we have a smiley face, except the lips are zip-tied or zipped up, I guess,
Correct.
and a black heart.
Correct.
Okay, and this was on Mr. Kelvin Watts' page.
Correct.
All right. Also, and Ms. Knight, thank you. Also, you're aware that Kelvin Watts has made a song that references Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, correct?
He may have.
You never heard Mafia Story by Shell Kel and Third World?
I haven't, but it would not surprise me if he did.
I heard my ops died like some thoughts, referring to two snakes dying with their eyes wide open and their tongues out. Crime scene nasty in a fast car, died in empty traffic.
That sounds about on brand for Kelvin Watts.
Okay, and that was a reference to the Kia Stinger, the fast car is Kia Stinger that Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford were in.
That sounds about right.
Were Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford riding in a Kia Stinger?
They were in a gray and color Kia Stinger.
Okay, and were they in fact shot on the highway?
Yes, they were on the highway.
Okay. Mr. Watts, despite these 4 posts that you collected and this song, has not been charged with the murder of Christian McMiller or Darius Ford, has he?
No, he has not, but that's also an open investigation that's not assigned to me. So
Okay, that's fine.
But-
So, but the answer is he has
He
not
has
been
not.
charged. And it's just 2 years, 8 months later.
it's still open active investigation.
Right, and you've had you collected these postings that Mr. Watts made way back in March of 2022.
Correct, but so investigations, just the social media posts aren't enough to arrive at probable cause. You'd need him maybe on video at the crime scene, before that murder, things of that nature. So if social media was enough for probable cause, a lot of people probably would have gone to jail for this, but we don't do that.
Right, because there were a lot of people posting on social media.
Correct.
A lot of people posting horrible things on social media.
But unfortunately, nobody was on camera at the scene or there, or there was no knife.
Agenda today, and I know that you want to talk about the security cameras, and we will absolutely talk about the security cameras. I promise you.
Commentary
Well,
I'm
there's commentary going on both sides.
too. During that wiretap.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Was it in the thousands? Is that fair?
Probably
to
in
say?
the thousands, yes.
Okay. Do you know how many total calls Mr. Stillwell was a party to?
I couldn't give you a number, but it would probably be not as many as others because he went into custody, I think, within 6 days of the wire going up.
Fair enough. And just so we're clear, when you apply for a wiretap, you send something to the phone company, correct?
Correct?
And the phone company is told not to inform anyone about the wiretap, certainly not to inform the subscriber.
Correct.
So no one, to your knowledge, no one told Mr. Garlington that he's being recorded,
Correct.
okay, because that would defeat the purpose of the wiretap, right?
Correct.
And to your knowledge, no one told anyone else that there was a wiretap on Mr. Garlington's phone.
Correct.
Okay. Now, the state referred to the calls that were played for the jury yesterday as a sampling. What was played to the jury wasn't exactly a random sampling of the calls, was it?
No, all of the calls were turned over, and it's my understanding that they had to be narrowed down.
Right. The state, in preparation of your testimony, they gave you a CD or some sort of flash drive with a number of calls that they chose and asked you to review them, correct? So you could speak intelligently about them.
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't a random sampling, it was calls that the state chose to focus on.
It's my understanding that the prosecution and the defense decided on what could and would be played. So it wasn't just random, let me pick 20 calls out of a bag. It was calls that were relevant to the case.
Right. Yeah, right. I'm just saying it just wasn't some random sample.
Correct.
It was focused.
Correct.
Okay. And so let's talk about some of the calls. We're going to talk about specific calls in a minute, but if you go back to what was played yesterday on that wiretap of Mr. Garlington's phone, there were calls, repeated calls about keeping Miles Farley, who's a small man, right? He is a small gentleman, physically small.
Small, yes,
Okay. Talk about keeping Miles Farley from being violated or attacked at the Rice Street Jail, right? We heard several calls about Miles Farley and keeping him safe.
correct.
Okay. We heard call, and do you have the call logs in front of you or anything?
I do not.
Okay. When you were testifying yesterday, what were you using to keep track of what calls which?
I didn't have anything in front of me.
Okay. Well, we heard call 2532 from April 3rd, 2534 from April 3rd, 2628 from April 4th, 3501 from April 13th, and 3697 from April 14th, all about Miles Farley and being in jail. Do you remember those 5 calls?
I do.
Okay. Was Shannon Stillwell a party to any of those calls?
He was not.
Okay. We also heard a call 3683 from April 14th about, and you could probably tell me who the people were. It was Demekion Garlington and someone about flying a drone into the jail, it seemed.
Correct.
Okay. Was Shannon Stillwell a party to that call?
He was not.
Okay. Then we also heard about Demekion Garlington going on and on about running into someone named Blizzy at some hotel in Cobb County.
Correct.
Okay. To your understanding, was Shannon Stillwell present for any of those events in Cobb County?
No, I believe he was in custody.
He
at
was
the
in
time.
custody. So he wasn't involved with any of those things that Demekion was talking about, running into Blizzy in Cobb County.
Correct.
And then we also heard a call between, I believe, Demekion Garlington and Antonio Sumlin, and it sounded, and this was call 3171 and 3172 from April 9th, about seeing someone wearing some jewelry, and they were asking if you have a slider car with paper tags. It sounded like they were trying to come up with a way to commit a crime, a robbery, right?
Correct.
Okay. Was Shannon a party to that call?
No.
Okay. And Shannon was in jail at that time, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so he was not involved in that situation at all either, correct? All right, cool. All right. I'm going to talk to you about specific calls that have already been played. March 14th, 2022 at 9:59 p.m. It's call 335, okay? It's a call where you testified, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was a call between Demekion Garlington and a gentleman named DeMarco Boyer.
That is correct.
Okay, and that's at 9:59 p.m.
Correct.
Do you know how many 9:59 and how many seconds? Are you aware of that?
I would have to look at the log for the seconds.
Okay. And in that call, Garlington instructs Boyer to switch to video.
Correct.
Okay. Now, based on your investigation, you said Boyer was at the gas station.
Correct.
And you also said, well, you were about to say, and then I cut you off. Boyer, your investigation has concluded that Boyer was in Mr. Nichols' car.
Correct.
Okay, so, and you're basing that on your investigation. You're also basing it on the fact that Miles Farley in that video, when he goes back to the car, gets into the backseat at the BP.
That and there are calls from the wire that
Okay.
say that he's in the car. Yes.
Fair. So this call at 9:59 between Garlington and Boyer, your investigation is Garlington, this is your investigation, is Garlington is in Mr. Stillwell's rented white Audi,
Correct.
and Mr. Boyer, who's not charged in
Correct.
this case, is a passenger in Mr. Nichols' Ford Fusion.
Correct.
Okay, white Ford Fusion.
Correct.
Okay. Your investigation based on the time on the surveillance video from the FedEx surveillance is that the shooting happened around 10:01 p.m., correct?
I don't know if it's based on the time on the FedEx video.
Okay, well, what's your understanding of when the shooting occurred? If you know.
I don't know how they arrived at 10:02, but I know that's when both cars pull off shortly thereafter. Within probably a minute or two, the cars pull off from the gas station.
Okay. Now, what I want to know is, it's a matter of timing. The 9:59 and however many seconds that this call is made where eventually Garlington tells Boyer to go to video. That 9:59 and however many seconds is based on the clock used during your wiretap. That's where we get that time,
Correct.
right? Okay, so that's based on the wiretap time. Okay. So, and then of course, after they hang up, then do you know if there was a subsequent video or FaceTime call?
I believe you could see the data transmission come through
Okay, and do you know how long that call was or exactly when it took place?
immediately after, but I would have to look at the log.
Okay. And my question is, we have three different sets of time here. We have the wiretap time,
Correct?
we have the FedEx video time,
Correct?
and we have a BP video time.
Correct?
Okay. Are any of those, to your knowledge, are any of those three separate surveillance systems synced up?
They're not. So typically what you would have to do is go back and sync them because I know the wiretap is a constant. I know that's an accurate time.
Okay, so you know, and that's fine. So you know the wiretap is an accurate time, but we don't know if the FedEx is an accurate time or the BP is an accurate time.
I'd have to look at the timestamps on both.
Okay, so I guess what I'm getting at is we can't just go by the BP time and go to 9:59 and however many seconds and say, oh, that's when that call was placed.
I went off of the wiretap data.
Right, exactly.
Correct.
Right, and that's what you were in charge of the wiretap. You went, but I'm going to go back to my question, and that makes complete sense to me that you went off the wiretap time. But we cannot go back to the BP and look at the BP at 9:59 and however many seconds and say that's when this call was made, because those two timing systems between the wiretap and the surveillance might not be synced up.
Correct. I'm not sure if they were or they weren't, but typically that's something I double check.
Okay, and the same thing for the FedEx. We can't look at the FedEx time and just go to 9:59 and however many seconds and say, oh, this is the exact time when that call was between Mr. Garlington and Mr. Boyer, between those two cars was made. We can't do that, can we?
Correct. I go with what I know to be constant.
Gotcha. So all you're saying is 9:59 on the wiretap.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay. Mr. Atkins or Miss Knight, and I should ask you, could you please publish what you played yesterday at call 350? I'm going to ask some questions first. Thank you. So, yeah, I'm going to give you a couple minutes. All right, I'm going to talk really slow because I got to give Mr. Atkins a couple minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So we listened to another call at 2:01 a.m. between, do you know who that call was between?
I'd have to hear it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna cut to the chase. You said in court that you heard someone say, riding by the scene.
I don't know if I said that verbatim, but they're riding back through, I think is the direct quote.
And you said the scene.
They may have been riding back through the scene.
Okay, well, do you now know what call I'm talking about?
I know which call you're referring to, yes.
All right, and if you, and do you know who the speakers were?
Well, if it's from the wiretap, one would have been in Garlington.
Right.
And then I believe the other one may have been Boyer. I have to hear the call. I don't want to misspeak on it.
Okay, and people were fussing with each other. Someone was fussing with someone about not having a ride to get back to where they needed to go, is essentially the gist of the call, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, if you could play, if you could publish. Right, and whatever, okay, yes, if you could just publish, and I'm going to stop after about 40 seconds.
Bro, who that was? The nigga Ray got an idea and still got an
Okay, could you pause it?
Oh, for real?
All right, now, Miss Investigator Viverito, where do you know who the speakers are?
I believe it's Boyer, but I need to hear a little bit more. That was
Okay,
kind of muffled.
that's fair. All right, Miss Hilton, if you could. Yep.
Yeah, RP, the YP Ray. Yeah, I don't even know him. That who got his change? That who changed Lil J5 to Jason? Oh, for real? Yeah, the YP Ray nigga. Oh, I ain't even know that. Yeah, that little PLK nigga. Oh yeah, I had Lil J5 with me last night. That's probably what it was. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that who changed it. Oh damn! What I say? Yeah. Buddy came and followed me. I followed his ass back. Hey, talking about fuck around with him. What you talking about? I'm trying to get the other care data address right quick and care address. He testing the young crew. Somebody he finna send a bit. For real? Somebody he gonna send a bit somewhere late where the spot at.
Okay.
Yeah. He told LJ you got liquor last.
20 seconds. And my notes might be wrong, but I don't think they are. Yeah, 20 seconds. Could you tell me when you hear anything about the scene?
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, for real? Yeah, the YP Ray nigga. Oh, I ain't even know that. Yeah, that little PLK nigga. Oh yeah, I had Lil J5 with me last night. That's probably what it was. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yep. Okay, I'm sorry. You're going by the different number. It's 201. Right, it's the PD, the call 350. All right, here we go. This is the one I meant to pull up for you, Investigator Viverito.
Yo. All right. All kinds of shit, man. I just jump in the other car, bro. Y'all niggas don't be getting dropped off and they ain't got no motherfucking ride to go back home to. That don't make sense. Yeah. The fuck you getting dropped off for? Nigga ride with the nigga who brought you. Yeah. That's stupid as fuck. So you need to be on the gun or something. What the hell? What's wrong with you? We're right here down here. Yeah, what? Ride past trying to see.
Okay, stop. Did you not just hear him say riding past through the city?
He said riding past trying to see.
Well, where's the scene?
I said,
You said scene before, now you're saying trying to see, and I'm saying city.
you may have misunderstood what I was saying. Or you got to understand when these calls come in, when you click on the call, it will also provide a map of where they are, and the next call may show where they traveled to after that. It's my understanding that he traveled back towards that area.
Okay, but towards the area, you mean the city? It's in the city,
They never
right?
left the city.
Okay. Investigator Viverito, you previously testified that he said going to the scene, and now you're saying to this jury that He didn't say seen, he said see. Is that correct?
I don't know if I said, he said, I don't believe I said, he said he's riding through the scene. He may have rode back. I believe he was traveling back towards the scene.
And I know you're an expert, but if the jury listens to this and hears city, is that okay with you?
But that's not what's said, so I would clarify for them.
I understand that you want to tell everyone what's said here, but you've already given two different stories. You said see, and then you said
What's your
see.
objection?
Argumentative.
Overruled.
It's,
Can we just go by what we hear?
he,
Is that okay?
sure.
Thank you. Okay, call 416, and I don't need this published. Thank y'all. It's from the early morning hours of March 16th, 2022. Okay, there was actually two calls that were played. Do you recall?
Correct.
Okay, one is Mr. Garlington and someone that you say is my client, and the person's whispering. I'm not even going to dispute it, okay?
Okay.
We'll just say it's my client.
Okay.
Whispering about hiding in the crawl space.
Correct.
Okay. And then the second call is Mr. Garlington and my client talking about what just happened.
Correct.
And of course, what just happened was the house was shot up, and then a bunch of police officers showed up, and no one was arrested.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So, and that was the same day, of course, that you spoke to Shannon Stillwell. You put him in the back of the police car, or someone put him in the back of the police car, and you spoke to him, and he told you he was, in fact, driving the white Audi.
Correct.
All right. So, that call, let's just review some things that were discussed by Mr. Garlington and Mr. Stillwell. They talked about their amazement about not being hit by any of the bullets that were fired into 2830 Waters Road, correct?
Correct.
They talked about their amazement that the police let them go from that location.
Correct.
They talked about how they hid from the police.
Correct.
Mr. Stillwell talked about being placed in the police car.
Correct.
Mr. Stillwell said that he denied knowing McMain when asked and said he was from Thomasville.
Correct.
Okay. That was misleading, right?
Correct.
Because he does, in fact, know McMain.
He does.
All right. And McMain, just so we're clear, is Christian McMillan.
He is.
Yeah. And he talks about getting out of there as soon as possible. Like speeding away because he couldn't believe that y'all, the police, let him go.
He does, but he says prior to leaving, he collected his FN and his rifle or stick and he left.
I'm going to get there. Okay. And they talked about seeing you too, right?
They did.
All right. So let's talk about, I know he, in that call, and clearly I'm getting there, he talked about sneaking his FN away from the scene, right?
Correct.
And about sneaking his stick out of one of the cars. I think the gray car.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Now, the FN, you've testified, you know that an FN 57 is registered in Miss Taisha Alexander's name, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that gun was located at Meadowlark Drive on March 17, 2022.
Correct.
Correct? The next day after this call.
Correct.
All right. Does that FN shoot .40 caliber bullets?
Does not.
That could not have been the murder weapon for Shamel Drinks.
No.
Could it? Okay. He talks about taking a stick from a car on the scene, right?
Correct.
And you know the stick to be an AK-47 type assault rifle, correct?
Could be an AK-47. It could be an AR-15. It could be, it's a rifle.
Typically shoot 7.62 caliber bullets.
Correct.
Okay, not 40 caliber.
Nope.
Okay, so you would know that that stick that he talks about taking from the scene once you guys let him go is, in fact, not the weapon used to shoot Mr. Drinks.
Correct.
And in this call, where, again, you don't have any reason to believe Mr. Stillwell knew he was being recorded,
Correct.
or Mr. Garlington knew he was being recorded. In this call, he never talks about taking any other guns from the scene.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Call 2119 is another call that was played. It's from April 1st, 2022 at 12:29 a.m. It was a call between Demekion Garlington, who's on the wiretap, and Shannon Stillwell, who's in jail at this point, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Demekion is on his normal phone, and you testified that Shannon Stillwell, when you're in the jail, you said there's wall phones, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that's, the jury has heard those recordings where they talk about Securus, and this phone will be recorded, and they are in fact recorded.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Stillwell was not on a recorded line.
Correct.
He was on a cell phone from the jail.
Correct.
Okay, so he, in common sense, he doesn't know that Demekion Garlington is being wiretapped.
Correct.
Okay, and he has no reason to believe that the cell phone he's using from the jail is being recorded.
Correct.
It's fair to say that they believe that they're having a private communication that is not being recorded.
Correct.
All right. Mr. Atkins, could you do me a favor? This call 2119, and I'm talking about at 12:29 a.m. Could you play on April 1st, 12:29 a.m.? I'm just adding. Okay, yes. You know how to make consult with it?
Yes.
We're just going to queue that call up, okay? And I'm going to ask you some questions about it.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. And if you could queue it up to 2 minutes and 40 seconds. $240.
I was telling folks, I'm like, shit, what the hell they locked up for? Like, they just saying about the camera. I'm like, bro, they good. I'm just like, they gonna assume some shit like that anyway. Yeah, they gonna assume that, like, oh, like, y'all ain't did, man, kill me, so.
That's what I keep telling goddamn Lil. I keep telling him like, just chill. Like, I know
Yeah, cause they
this
saying
ain't
he panicked.
nothing. Yeah, I'm like, this ain't nothing, bro. Like, they just doing that cut. They seen as a goddamn gas station. Like, just chill. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. That's why I'm telling. I keep telling man the same shit. I'm like, listen, bro. Just like you like, bro, I'm telling probably in the cab. Listen, bro, no. Just tell them before you don't want to talk, bro. Like,
Not one word.
yeah.
Go down on what they try to portray or what they say, man. Don't say shit.
Yeah, yeah. I ain't know that though, like so I didn't have my I need to have
And you can keep that up because I'm going to ask you to play another part. But thank you, Mr. Atkins. So on that call, again, neither party has reason to believe they're being recorded. That's Demekion Garlington and Shannon Stillwell.
Correct.
And they talk about they gonna assume shit.
Correct.
Mr. Garlington says y'all didn't do nothing.
Correct.
And then Mr. Stillwell says they just saying it because they seen us at the gas station.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Atkins, if you could please play 11:20 at 11:28.
Yeah, man. What the hell? What the hell? Swimming on? You still in the yo?
yeah. Okay, what is that?
You know what I'm
Yeah, see.
Who?
Who?
Yo, folk.
Yeah. Okay, what is that for them?
We're gonna come back to that one because I want to get the timing right.
Okay.
What's that?
Okay.
Okay. And that is okay. We're gonna come back to that call. But let's talk about Mr. Stillwell's phone that was collected.
Sure.
Okay. Do you know you're able to view, so you collect the phones, Detective Leon Packer, he dumps the phones, and then you're able to view the phones, what the contents of the phones through a program called, what's it called, XRZ, is that correct?
XRY.
XRY, okay. And you get just a whole bunch of information that's in whoever's phone.
The contents of the phone are organized by category.
Right, and we're talking about pictures, text, emails, instant message, call logs, location, data, internet searches,
Correct.
notes.
Correct.
Okay. And if you don't know, that's fine, but do you know how many texts or calls total were in this phone?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it would be listed on the extraction, on the front page of the extraction. When you open it up digitally, it'll give you what you're going to see initially is it's everything by category. So it'll say 20,000 texts, 100 calls, things of that nature.
Okay.
Lawnmower's gone.
Ms. Knight, if you would please display 227.
We're going to go ahead and end this stream. And Tiffany and I'll be back later to review Fear Thy Neighbor. Yeah, Fear Thy Neighbor. So we'll see you back later on this afternoon. Early evening, late afternoon. Peace.